Hi, second graders. We are going to be doing a page in our packet this week that goes along with the story that we read yesterday about the story where Tim was visiting the desert with his grandmother. Now, this week for our selection, we are going to be filling out a chart for the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story. We've talked a little bit about this, I know, in reading groups for sure, but when we do this, we're going to kind of break up the story into three main sections. So we're going to talk about the most important thing that happened at the beginning, what mainly happened in the middle, and then you're going to be responsible for filling out what happens at the end of the story. So, Mrs. Grant, at the very beginning of the story, I know that we have the characters Tim, I know we have the grandmother, and I know the story is taking place mainly in the desert. But can you tell me a little bit about how Tim is feeling at the beginning of the story?
Yeah, so Tim, it's the beginning of summer and he just kind of wanted to stay at home and hang out with his friends. And his parents tell him that he has a vacation to go visit his grandmother in the desert coming up. He does not want to go visit his grandmother in the desert.
He does not. Because he's thinking, oh, the desert, like I'd rather hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to write down, maybe we could write something like Tim does not want to visit his well, we could do
grandma.
That's
fine.
good. I was going to write grandmother.
He does not want to visit his grandma. Exactly.
He does not. Now, I know that something changes throughout the story. He ends up going to the desert and enjoys it, but what is he doing in the middle of the story? What is he learning about?
Yeah. So when he finally does go to his grandmother's, he starts exploring the desert and learning about all the desert animals and is enjoying it with his grandma. So he learns about the desert animals.
Okay. He learns about the
desert has one S. And I'm going to tell you the trick that I learned when I was a kid and I still remember, because there's another word called dessert that looks exactly the same but it has two S's. I always remember that desert has one S because I only want to be trapped in a desert once, but I'd rather have two desserts.
You got it.
So,
did you know I learned the same trick when I was a kid?
Funny?
Yeah, and do you know it was my second grade teacher that taught that to me?
Oh my gosh, I don't remember which teacher taught it to me, but I always remember it.
Probably your second grade teacher, because they're the best. All right. So he did not learn about desert animals.
No, he learned it about desert animals.
That's important. All right. Now, at the end of the story, I'm not going to write it down, but let's talk about it.
And you need to listen, because if you listen, you can copy what we say and write it down. Okay.
You told me that at the beginning he did not want to visit his grandma, but it sounds like he was learning quite a bit in the middle of the story. So how did Tim feel at the end?
Well, by the end of the story, he realized that he enjoyed spending time with his grandma in the desert. He ended up loving it. Yeah.
So Tim enjoyed his time in the desert.
Yes. I would say that would be a great
desert.
Not in the desert. He wasn't swimming around in a hot fudge sundae.
Although that does sound kind of cool.
He was in the desert with one S.
Okay. All right. Well, I think they can finish up that chart on their